Order. Order. Point of order, the right honourable.
I seek an extension of time for that last speaker. We like a good joke.
Order. The member cannot do that. I wish he'd bone up on standing orders.
Mr. Speaker.
Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, New Zealanders ask a basic question of their politicians. Are you on my side? They're not asking for much. They're not asking for the government to tell them what to do or how to live their lives, but they want to know that the government is there for them. That if they do their bit, they pay their fair share, they'll get a fair go. And what we have discovered about this government, Mr. Speaker, over the last 8 years is that this government doesn't subscribe to that. They don't subscribe to the idea that it's their job to be on the side of New Zealanders. The choice they're making about whose side they're on could not be more obvious. And we've seen it in the past. They're on the side of Mr. Al-Khalaf. They're on the side of the Sky City directors. And in the last couple of weeks, we've seen just exactly who it is that this government thinks it's working for. We first saw it with the response of the government to the scandal that is multinational tax avoidance in this country. Now, if the amount of money involved is $500 million, as one newspaper investigation thought, or as Craig Elliff, the tax expert from Auckland University, said, it's $1 billion a year, it's a big problem. But this government wouldn't know because it hasn't even asked the basic question: how much are New Zealanders missing out on because multinational companies won't pay their fair share? This government isn't prepared to stand up for the New Zealand taxpayers who pay their tax, who go home, the small business owners, and do the tax at night, pay their fair share because they want to be part of the society. But the New Zealand government, the national government, will not stand up for those people. It will not even bother to find out how much tax has been avoided. And then, Mr. Speaker, we have the release of the Panama Papers. And let's be absolutely clear, New Zealand is donkey deep in this. 60,000 of these documents mention New Zealand. And what's the Prime Minister's reaction? He does the shoulder shrug. He says it doesn't really matter. He brings to bear the ethics of Wall Street. Well, I say to John Key, how about remembering the ethics of Hollyford Avenue? How about remembering the idea that we look after each other in New Zealand? We give people a fair go. We don't look after the most powerful. We don't look after the mega rich. We look after New Zealanders. Because John Key has stood up and told us we are not a tax haven. Well, I've got news for Mr. Key. He's the only one who thinks that. He's the only person in the last few weeks who's saying we're not a tax haven. This is what was in the Australian Financial Review. And it has a list of the countries that Mossack Fonseca operates in. And it says across 21 tax havens. And there is New Zealand, Mr. Speaker. Now, in 2005, John Key said, before he became the leader of the National Party, that he wanted New Zealand to look at how the experience of small island economies went and how they would go and how we could replicate them. I'm not sure New Zealanders thought he meant small island economies like the British Virgin Islands, the Seychelles, Costa Rica, Panama, Belize, British Anguilla, the Cayman Islands. That's the company John Key's government's keeping. That's who he's keeping. And he even said in that article, Mr. Speaker, in 2005, that he wanted to have a look at how Jersey had built its economy off the back of offshore trusts. That's not the economy that we want in New Zealand. We want an economy where people aren't serving coffee to the 1%, that we're actually making and building the things that will help people have a share in prosperity, that build wealth from the ground up, that focus on a productive economy. But instead, Mr. Speaker, we've got a Prime Minister who shrugs his shoulders, talks about the fact that the lawyers and the accountants earn $24 million from the fact that we're a tax haven, wants to be the Switzerland of the South Pacific. Mr. Speaker, John Key has lost his moral compass. He doesn't get the fact that New Zealand is now on the world stage, having its reputation damaged day after day, and he won't lift a finger to do anything about that. That's because, Mr. Speaker, he has proved to New Zealanders that he is on the side of the mega-rich and the wealthy and the 1%. He is not on the side of ordinary, hard-working New Zealanders. New Zealanders deserve a government that gets alongside them, that supports the building of a productive economy, that gives everybody a share in that economy. They will only get that with a Labour government.